What is good, everyone? What's poppin'? Village hitting in the real. In today's video, we are going to be discussing Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 226. I am thoroughly excited for this chapter. Let's go! Is Z. It's not enough words to express how amazing this chapter was, but how this chapter begins is actually where we left off at in chapter 226, 225, when Sukuna ended up cutting Gojo's blade. And what we end up seeing is Itadori was a little concerned for his sensei because of the simple fact is he got his throat slashed, but Hagoromo was explaining about the fact that he was using reverse curse technique to heal the slashes. And what I want you guys to understand about Gojo is that his reverse curse technique is on autopilot. So he's the only Jujutsu sorcerer who has a reverse curse technique on autopilot. Autopilot. And Hagoromo also explains that as long as he stays in Sukuna's domain, he's going to constantly get slashed. But as you see, he's healing himself. And Choso explains that pretty much Sukuna's domain is not enclosed. So there's a way for Gojo to get out of his barrier. And Hikari also explains that with Gojo's speed, he should be able to get out of Sukuna's domain with his speed, because even if it covers the entire Shibuya, Gojo should still be able to get out of it. But Higuruma explains that, Gojo's speed and teleportation is an application of his limitless, which means that he can only use it when he's using his curse technique. As of right now, his curse technique is exhausted, and because his curse technique is exhausted, that means that Satoru Gojo is in a really big pinch right now. But for our boy Satoru Gojo, does it seem like it's the end?
No.
What I'm trying to say is that Gojo, he loves this shit. This is something that he's enjoying. He's at his best when he's fighting a life and death situation. And Gojo himself has explained that his limitless is way better than Sukuna's. It seemed like he was talking about Sukuna's domain or his curse technique. It wasn't really specified, but I'm gonna go on the limb and say because he's getting slashed up right now by Sukuna's domain and he's still saying his limitless is far better. I will summarize, he's talking about Sukuna's domain expansion. And he tries to escape, so he tries to head out the domain, but Sukuna once again engages him in hand-to-hand combat and is letting him know he ain't letting him escape. Ain't no way, brother. He got nowhere to go. He ain't going. Sukuna's like, you ain't going nowhere, bro. So this is what is crazy about this situation, that I want you guys to truly understand why Satoru Gojo is the GOAT. And the reason why is he's getting slashed by Sukuna's domain. And he's getting cut. He's using reverse curse technique. And he's still engaging Sukuna in hand-to-hand combat. And even Sukuna is talking about it. Even Sukuna was like, he's moving pretty well, even without his curse technique. And that's when Yuji Itadori ends up asking, what will happen if Satoru Gojo gets rid of that shrine? And Higuruma explains that domain expansion and the user have somewhat of a symbolic relationship with each other. And because they have somewhat of a symbolic relationship with each other, if it pretty much Sukuna's domain isn't supposed to exist, something that Mei confirms by saying that Gojo has the 6 eyes, and yet even with his 6 eyes, he's not attempting to get rid of it. So to her, it must mean that that shrine is of little importance, because the Six Eyes would have told Gojo this is the weak point of his domain. And that's when we end up seeing something that I think anybody who knows Jujutsu Kaisen knows, that we end up figuring out he was going to be using a simple domain. And a simple domain, just for it's just like a temporary barrier that the sure hit is a little different. It amplifies your physical attacks, and the sure hit it dulls down the sure hit. And what ends up going on is that Yuji was like, well, I thought that he couldn't use it. And it was explained that it wasn't that he couldn't use simple domain, he couldn't teach it, because he learns everything so fast. And because he learns everything so fast, it's very difficult for him to teach something that he literally does really quickly, which surprises everyone. It was like, so why is he in charge of the first year? But at the same time, Choso explains that the only thing that a simple domain can do is buy time, because against a real domain, it's only going to shatter. Which is true, because if you play video games or anything, if you have like a mini barrier against a even stronger barrier, your mirror barrier is going to like pretty much get throttled. And they end up engaging in hand-to-hand combat once again. And as we see, he still engages Sukuna in hand-to-hand combat and still getting slashed up in the process. And he uses another simple domain, which then starts to frustrate Sukuna, who feels like this is starting to get out of control. This is getting a little bit too tedious. But then out of nowhere, he ends up not using reverse curse technique at this point. He stops using it, which surprises everybody. And Yuta explains that Satoru Gojo, there's no limit to his curse energy. But Kusakabe explains that that's under the impression that he's still using a curse technique, where his curse technique is kind of exhausted still. And as they're still being engaged, and Gojo, the GOAT, is still getting slashed and dashed, which is crazy, the question became, is Satoru Gojo about to lose? And the answer of that question, no. Not, because out of nowhere, just like that, he moved really fast, which surprised Sukuna, and he gave Sukuna a little bit of a hug. It's a pause moment here. You gotta say pause on this one. But then what he ends up using was reversal red. So he used curse technique, reversal red, and that's when Yuta realizes that he was using his reverse curse technique to heal his exhausted curse technique, which is a new thing that we didn't even know that they can do. They can use reverse curse technique to heal curse techniques, which is actually incredible. And that's why I said this guy is the GOAT. This is why he's the GOAT. He was using reverse curse technique at maximum output, engaging Sukuna in hand-to-hand combat, and at the same time getting cut up. And he survived all that, and he ends up blasting Sukuna in his own domain, which ends up cutting up Sukuna himself, and then he ends up healing himself. This is why Satoru freaking Gojo is the GOAT. This is why I be telling y'all, man, Jujutsu Kaisen is hype manga. Oh my god, this is some hype manga. I cannot wait for the next chapter. And I do appreciate y'all for watching, listening to this video and watching this video. And if you guys enjoyed this type of content, leave a like, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, y'all.